Welcome everyone to Cheese In Depth. I'm Michael Landis, and today we have the honor, privilege, and fun of being able to listen to and meet Mary Quicke and Poppy today.
Well, thanks so much for having us, everyone. We're really looking forward to talking to you a little bit more about Quicke's, what we do here at Quicke's, about our cows, about the land that we work with, the history and everything like that. And also to take you through some lovely pairings and some of the flavour profiles of some of the cheeses that we make on the farm. We've got to talk to you today about the goat's milk Clothbound, the Devonshire red, the mature, the oak smoked Clothbound, and our Elderflower.
Let's share what we have. Yeah, it's just lovely, that sense that we've got it's this taste of place of our grass, our cows, our particular soil, our particular valley, those starters that we use that come from our area, and then also that we've got this amazing microflora that grows this incredible flavours under the rind. The rind is really, really to celebrate.
Leads nicely onto kind of flavour profiles and what you're therefore getting, because we do have a very distinctive flavour profile with Quicke's that is really quite unlike anything that you'll be able to find in any other cloth-bound cheddar. Michael, I think...
Well, Poppy, I'll let you say, but you can see that lovely impact of the cloth and the rind, which is of course why we should always, when you're eating a cloth-bound naturally rinded cheese, you should always take a slice from the nose to the rind, because you've got all of those differential flavours which arise both from the impact of the microflora on the rind, this really specific taste of place, but also as the cheese matures, it loses moisture, preferentially from the rind, so you can see it's slightly darker under the rind. And slightly lighter in the middle, so more moisture in the middle, slightly more acidity, halfway back maybe slightly nutty, and then under the rind you've got these, I guess, well, it was a word I recognized it. Americans said your cheese tastes horseradishy, and our molds have that horseradishy note. I don't know where that comes from, but that's the note that our taste of place, our store, gives to our cheese. Poppy, over to you.
It's so distinctive. It's so distinctive on a Quicke's cheese, and it's one thing that really defines it, I think, against many other cloth-bound cheddars available in the market. But when we're talking about our cheeses, they all have a really wonderful grassy undertone, which you'll get because we are using grass-fed milk. And then obviously each one has got a slightly horseradishy note, but that's something really develops up towards the rind. As Mary said, when you're trying our cheeses, the best way to try it is right up against the nose here and then right up against the rind, and it's almost like trying two different cheeses. It's pretty special, but it's a real reflection of how a long slow maturation can impact a flavor or impact a cheese, you know, really allowing that air to get in and that moisture to come out over a long period of time gives you real depth of flavor. So as we're trying these cheeses now, we're going to talk about how you get that initial taste, the mid taste, and then you're going into kind of like an aftertaste as well. It's not just like one taste and that's it. And that's the only kind of, you know, the impact that you get from a cloth-bound cheddar that just makes it so different from a block cheddar available in the market. When I'm doing tastings with people and I'm talking about like, oh, cheddar, cloth-bound cheddar is a very different category, and really do try and bear that in mind when you're trying our cheddars versus a traditional block, because there is a lot of other elements that are going on there. But I think we should probably start trying some cheese, and the first one that we've got to try with you today is the goat's milk Clothbound. It's this bright white cheese, and admittedly in the UK we would call this a goat's milk Clothbound as opposed to a goat's milk cheddar, because traditionally a cheddar should only ever be made with cow's milk. This bright white colour gives you takes away the guesswork that it's made with goat's milk. It's aged for 6 months. It's got kind of like almondy, kind of sharp, like slightly umami taste to it, but it leads into a slightly sweet aftertone with a tiny bit of pepperiness on the end. But I get that real almondiness. Like, Mary, what do you think in terms of the goat's milk Clothbound?
Well, as you say, it's got some It's got that really gentle goat. I mean, when I taste it out to people,
super gentle.
And that's because the goat's milk is so fresh. When I taste it out to people, I'll, you know, certainly if it's a group of people, maybe consumers or guests, I will say, okay, well, who already knows they don't like goat's milk? And I'll taste it to them, and I'll get them to say, and there are some people for whom goat's milk they don't like it, but actually 9 times out of 10 they'll say, "Ooh, I really like that."
It's quite unlike any goat's milk cheese I've ever come across. I've been searching for something that can compete, not because I want to find something that can compete with it, but I've genuinely never come across anything that's quite like it. It's so like unctuous and lactic, and the cheddaring method that we use and the slow, long aging of this cheese makes it so different than the goat's cheeses that most people are accustomed to. That really citrusy, fresh cheese, like goat's milk cheese that everyone immediately thinks of when you say, oh, it's a goat's cheese. This is just such a world apart. It's so different. You know, it pairs beautifully with a perry, if you're able to get hold of that, which is a very traditional pear cider, a hard cider available in the UK. And that comes from the West Country or the area of the southwest of England where we're based. Also, a pale ale works beautifully with it. It stands up very well to arugula, or Mary, we would call it rocket in the UK. It's got a lot going for it that really means it can give a bit of a punch to something else, and it's definitely worth playing around. I like it with pickled walnuts. I think that tastes really delicious. Something slightly sweet, it can really stand up well next to, and also it can work slightly with things like lemon butter or Armenia cherries. Like, you can really play around with it. I know that Michael's got some suggestions, and I'm just going to have to get those back up because
one of the other things is it cooks fluffy. If you cook it, you know, cheddar tends to cook heavy and the butter comes off, whereas with the goats, it just is extraordinary. It cooks fluffy. So, you know, I don't know, a cheese toasty is lovely with some beautiful, maybe
all
some
cheeses are fabulous and cheese toasty.
Well, that's true.
I've been looking forward to this. The difference that we'll experience with your style of goat cheese, because I adore goat cheese. I have several places where I get that, and so I'm very much looking forward to being able to have that. So with my pairings, what I did was I went with some fruit with this. I thought that it would be really kind of fun to be able to do that. And I have a blackberry and blueberry mix. And this is a local, this is from Boston. It's the black and blue from Bonnie's Jams. But first I want to try the cheese by itself. This is so crumbly, but it's also the same. It's very, very sweet. This is very different than what you typically get from a lot of our aged goat cheeses. This is spectacular. There's some acidity into this, because a lot of times when the goat's milk gets aged, it becomes a little sweeter, where this retained the tanginess to it. And that horseradish that's kind of coming across to me is still there, but it's more earthy than anything else. So a little bit of blueberry and blackberry with it. And then I wanted to kind of sweeten it up a little bit. So I have an Effie's rye biscuit. And I thought that the rye would work really well with the kind of earthiness that you have in the flavor characteristic here. So the tanginess, the sweetness, and a little bit of the fruit.
I don't know about you, Mary, but I'm rather jealous of what Michael's got on hand right now.
yes. I was trying not to dribble because it's not a good look.
No, it's not. How does it taste, Michael?
It tames a little bit of the tanginess down, brings out some more butter, a little bit of earthiness. But what you really get is with the blackberry and the blueberry, you know, that earthiness that you get from the stems of them and then doing a jam, that really brings that out as well. You don't lose the cheese, and that's what I was afraid of. And having the grassiness of rye is really a nice blend to put those together. And if I was indulging in drinking this early in the morning here, I would go with a Hefeweizen. This is a Tucher, a Helles Hefeweizen, and I want something that's going to give me a little bit more of the earthy flavors, a little more biscuit, and that's where the Hefe, a wheat beer, would really come in well. But yesterday I did ciders. I did 7 ciders, and when you were saying that a traditional cider, a dry cider, would work out really well with this, and that would be a lot of fun, being able to bring in a little bit of that apple in here. But this is kind of the direction that I thought would be really fun. I enjoy this, but the cheese by itself is spectacular. It is something where I am going to have to finish this piece of cheese by myself because it is so good. It's exactly when I first started in the cheese, one of the things that doing a fresh cut store, we had Cantal. And you guys know that has that earthy, big rind on it. And I smelled it, and I went back immediately to my childhood of being in a root cellar in Iowa, and that earthy, great smell. Well, you know, this is reminiscent of that beautiful earthiness that you can't get by a machine. This is definitely, there's love here. There's love.
There absolutely is. And our 10 cheesemakers make sure that they put in all that love. I think one of the things that you mentioned is that earthiness, and there's a real savoriness across all of our cheeses. And that's something that's really well worth noting. We aren't as sweet as some of the more Helveticus driven cheddars that are available. And that savory earthiness goes across the whole spectrum. And that is in part due to this wonderful heritage starter culture that we're able to use. But one thing also that you just mentioned, ciders. We pair our cheeses with hard cider because, you know, that old saying, what grows together goes together. Well, orchards, apple orchards in Devon and the West Country, well, that's where they come from. That's what's so traditional in our area, and that's what we love to pair our cheeses with. We're really lucky to have local orchards, Sanford orchards, for example, just down the road from where we're based, and they pair just so beautifully. The only thing I would say though is that our hard ciders in the UK are a lot drier. So if you are going to pair with a cider or with a hard cider or a cider, any of our cheeses, don't go for the sweeter ones. Try and go for the slightly more, not sharp, but slightly less sweet.
Do people I mean, there's now a tremendous movement to single variety ciders, and I was tasting some amazing single variety ciders that were really kind of beautifully tannic, you know, so that lovely complexity. So you get apple and tannic and a little tiny bit of sharpness, and that was really glorious with I was tasting it with a mature cheddar. Ooh, go on to the mature cheddar, Poppy.
We've got one before that, but one thing I will say is anything like with tannins is so great for cheese because the tannins make your mouth dry out, then you have some cheese, and then it makes you salivate a bit, and then so you have some more wine or more tannins, and it's just one wonderful downward spiral. And so anything like that, if you've got something that you know is quite highly tannic, green tea even I've done pairings with for cheese because that's got tannins in too. Oh, there you go, Mary. Is our flagship. So this is what Quicke's is so well known for. This is our 12-month aged Clothbound cheddar made using our glorious cow's milk, aged for 12 months. It's got a really, really gorgeous horseradishy feel to it. It's got a grassiness. It's just so special. It's aged to at least 12 months, but sometimes it goes on to slightly more like 15. It's got a real umami taste across the whole of the spectrum. It gets a little bit more sharp. It's like kind of midway in terms of how sharp our cheeses go. We would tend to say it's slightly more acidic in the UK. If that's sharp, kind of equates, the descriptor is kind of slightly acidic. And it's got a real butteriness throughout the whole of it with a like slightly salty aftertaste. It pairs with an English stout. Obviously, pale ales go across all of ours and ciders, but it also works with a nice Cabernet Sauvignon. And it's delicious with biscuits. It's got so much going for it. It's a delicious cheese to cook with, as well as having it on a board. One thing I paired with it before, and I think, Michael, you've got some with you, is the Fat Toad caramel, which is a great pairing, and it really, really makes people question what the traditional things to pair cheese are with. It's that sweety salt balance. It's absolutely perfect, and I have yet to come across anyone who has not absolutely loved it. Michael, have you got some to hand?
Yes, I do. I was very fortunate to get a hold of them, and they were able to send me some samples. So I have a really fun little plate here, and this is the Fat Toad caramel. Now it comes in vanilla, cinnamon. It comes in a lot of different flavors that you can get with this. And I was really surprised that you would get a goat milk caramel from that. And it's just a magnificent creaminess that it has. And
Michael, I've just got to quickly interrupt you there. I've just noticed actually you've got the vintage there, which is actually, I was referring to the mature here, but the vintage is our 24-month, and it will still go absolutely beautifully. It's going to be slightly more horseradishy. It's going to be more acidic. So if you do like something that's sharp, this is a great, great cheese for you. And also it's a very traditional cheddar flavor profile. Very savory, really sharp, buttery, but try it against the nose and then try it up against the rind as well, Michael, and see what you think, because they are two different cheeses. I'm sorry, I just interrupted you there.
That's okay. This is, yeah, you're right about it being earthy. This is definitely on that edge of real cellar flavors and horseradish and that. But you see, the thing that when you talk about earthiness and it being part of it, it's a balance of those. It's not just one or the other. There's some really rich butter in here. There's the tangy cheddariness that you get from the cheese, that tanginess that we love in an aged cheddar. So what the caramel is going to do is it's actually going to tone down a little bit of the earthiness and bring out more of the tang.
It's going to balance it out a little bit. It's so good, isn't it?
You don't have to do with this cheese. You don't have to balance it out, but it's really nice because you're going to have trouble finding something that can stand up to this cheese. This is a big boy. This isn't for, this isn't a kid's game. This is the real intense cheddar that what you would expect from an aged cheddar like this. They would really have that flavor. So just to give it some more balance in this flavor, I added in the Rustic Bakery, and this is just an olive oil sea Gris organic flatbread. And so I didn't really want anything else to get in the middle here. So a little bit of the flatbread, again, the olive oil, a little bit of sweetness with the Fat Toad original caramel. Mm. Can't go wrong with that. So for me, I want something that's going to enhance the richness from this. And so my choice would be, this is a red ale, but it's a red IPA. This is Tocobaga Red Imperial IPA. This is out of a local brewery here. This is Cigar City. And this is malty with hoppiness to it. And as you guys know, that hops, herbs, the earthiness, they all blend in really well. So the thought was that I really wanted that hoppiness to really blend in with the earthiness, but using an IPA would probably be too over the top. So I wanted the malt of a red ale to come in and balance it out. And that's the direction that I went with that. And I've done that before, and it's just a really nice way to be able to go.
Fantastic. Sounds very good. Again, another pairing I'm rather jealous that you have to hand. I'm going to have to do some serious shopping next time I'm over in the States, which hopefully won't be too long. So that's the vintage, which I get so many people coming up to me when I'm tasting it with customers and all sorts, saying it takes them back to either time in their childhood. It's a real traditional English cheddar flavor. It's really pretty special, and it's so well worth seeking out, especially around the holiday times. It's something people really love having on their holiday tables. The elderflower, which we've got here, the one that I referred to as having these lovely little speckles that run throughout it, is aged for 6 months. It's really quite special. It's got this wonderful aroma to it. It's very, very buttery. It's like aromatic is what I would say. As I mentioned earlier, it's got this it's a creaminess with a slightly citric, slightly almost like lemony kind of element to it. But the butteriness runs the whole way through. As I mentioned, it's a younger cheese, so it's 6 months. So it's a really lovely, creamy, luscious cheese. It partners really well with a Pinot Grigio or a Chardonnay. I would go with something lighter when you're trying something like this cheese. But it really is a pretty special cheese to have on a cheese board, and is absolutely unique, completely and utterly unique. But that aroma, almost like rosés and gin and tonics in a way, when you're thinking about drinks at least. I think when you're pairing it, I would go with something very delicate, because it is an incredibly delicate cheese. When I'm using it, oh wow, you're really getting the elderflower through in that one. Super aromatic. It's definitely a very, very delicate cheese, so you don't want to play around with it too much. But that butteriness and those aromatics actually pair quite well with things like a pickle or a not overly meaty piece of charcuterie, something like a lardo or some copper, something that can work really nicely together with it as opposed to against it. Mary, what do you think on it? How do you feel it's tasting? This is super aromatic at the moment.
Super aromatic, and also super buttery. I love the way, I mean, when we were creating this, you know, one of our customers asked us to make this cheese. As you know, Tracy Colley, who has been tremendously instrumental in creating the Academy of Cheese, and she insisted, she barraged me for about 2 years. No, I don't want to add this to our cheese. And eventually we did. But what I was looking to do was to have this lovely aromatic flavour, but that you wouldn't really know where the aromatic of the flowers ended and where the butteriness of the cheese started. And I think and we did various combinations, various amounts of elderflower, various sources of elderflower, until we came up with this, I think, a beautiful balance. So you get both elderflower and cheese, but in a dance, so that the cheese can speak, but also, you know, it's enhanced by this the aromatic elderflower.
Absolutely. They pair really nicely and balance each other out. And that's why I think when you're pairing it, you've got to be careful that nothing's going to be too overpowering with it. But it's such a unique product available in the market. Floral flavors are obviously incredibly popular now. And this is more aromatic than it is floral, I would say. Although this particular batch I'm finding slightly more floral. And that's one of the joys of handmade cheese. Each batch is so different. Mary, you know, you're grading every single batch, and they each have their own characteristics, which is part of the fun of a cloth-bound cheddar, especially when it's handmade like we do. How's it tasting, Michael? What are your tasting notes?
This is, I've been teaching cheese for 15 years, and I have had a wide variety. And you know, I judge at the International, the World, and the Global Awards, so I get a chance to try a tremendous amount. But honestly, I've never had anything like this before. It's so unique in its characteristics that I'm a little taken back, because there's a flavor here that I recognize, but it's not the flavor that I want to say because it sounds kind of odd. But for here, we have a rub called Vicks Vapor Rub, and it has the eucalyptus, you know, flavor, you know, and it has this incredibly pleasant sweetness, but it's you can really taste the flour, the flavor of that, and to be able to capture that flavor is mind-boggling, because this is so amazing. It's such a great flavor, and not having it before, my first thought was that I'd want to play on those flavor characteristics. So I chose the Savannah bee honey. And Savannah bee honey is a little bit more robust. It's a 80% pollen count, but also at the same point, this is the black sage honey, which I believe comes out of like Montana. And I put it on a Firehook rosemary sea salt organic Mediterranean baked cracker. And I wanted it to kind of help pick up those flavors. And so honestly, this is going to, I'm hoping it's going to work.
I think honey will be delicious with it.
Yeah, I've never thought of that. That's a really interesting idea. I need to go out and find some. Black sage sounds amazing.
I've never come across a black sage honey. We get lavender honey, chestnut honey, but I've never come across black sage.
So as you were saying that it has delicate flavors, all right, it didn't even phase it. I still get the black sage honey. I get the rosemary. I get the beautiful elderflower. And I get the cheddar. And so it's really, they all stand up. I still can taste the elderflower. I really is still there. You know, when you're doing a blending, and I run into this all the time, is that the cheese should be a flavor of that, not the flavor. If you wanted to get elderberry or elderflower, go get that. But when you have this balance here, I really taste this cheddar in here. I really taste the addition to it, not one or the other. But when I add the black sage honey to it, it amplifies the elderflower. It really brings that up at the top with the butter on there. And then the rosemary, it doesn't do a whole lot. It just kind of sits there, and you can pick that up, but it's not gonna run you over. So beverage-wise, I would throw up a Prosecco at this. I think that a nice Italian sparkling would be really appropriate for it. It would help clean off the buttery flavors, the richness that you get from here, and then a little bit of the sweetness that you get from a Prosecco would be fabulous. It would be a great little, this is an afternoon. I got my friends together. I'm sitting outside. It's a beautiful day. This is the cheese with a Prosecco, the honey and the crackers. This is your afternoon little, I'm going to spend some time with my friends.
Absolutely. I think a Prosecco is an absolutely perfect companion in terms of a drink for this. You know, it really cuts through that fattiness that you do get because it is so buttery, which is a lovely thought. I'm glad you like it, and I'm glad that we're going to have to get some of this black sage honey, Mary. I'm going to go on a shopping trip and go and try and find some. So, Michael, before I go on to the next cheese, I'm going to double check because chances are 50-50 I'll have got it wrong. Is it the Devonshire Red or the Oak Smoke next on your list for the slides? Which one's next?
Devonshire Red is next. We're going to do the
I'm very glad to hear that.
Cheddar last.
Good, because I was going to say you won't taste anything if you have the smoked next. So yes, we finally got the orange hue, the one that I have been desperate to go for, which is our take on the traditional English territorial cheese, Red Leicester. We're based in the county of Devonshire, so we called it Devonshire Red. It's a young buttery cheese again. It's aged for 6 months. It's made using our wonderful cow's milk, of course. It works beautifully with a Riesling or Rioja, and it's perfect for baking into biscuits or scones, Mary, savoury scones, or shepherd's pie. I haven't got them within reaching distance, but I actually made some biscuits with it yesterday. And it really is just a gorgeous, gorgeous cheese. It's got a real kind of lemony peel almost on the nose, and then it's creamy, and then it goes into a real butteriness. It's a very buttery cheese. It's super amicable. It's less acidic, so it really does appeal to such a broad spectrum. But it's absolutely delicious. You can, as you say with drinks, sometimes it's very quaffable. Like this is, you could get to quite a lot of this cheese.
It's a session cheese.
It's a session cheese, but it's got a slightly almost citrusy note that goes through it. It's not overly grassy. It's not overly sweet, and it's got a nuttiness as well that comes through in it too. Mary, what's your thoughts?
Well, when we're making it, we scald a little bit lower, and we let the acidity run a little bit higher. So you've got slightly more moisture. Sorry, I realise I've got a mouthful of Devonshire Red. But it's you know, we're looking to have it so it's citrusy, sharp, but also obviously you've got that nice horseradish on the nose, and as you get closer to the rind, you do get these more nutty flavours coming in.
If you smell it right up against the rind, it's super grassy, like super earthy.
But also buttery, so you get the sort of sharp and the buttery and the earthy as well. Michael, what do you think?
I'm really, really excited about being able to try this with.
Oh my gosh, are those everything crackers?
Oh man, this is so beautiful. You know, you have just the most beautiful cheeses in the world. All right, so I still taste a little bit of the previous cheese. Oh yeah, oh yeah. This is oh, so creamy. Oh, okay. So the direction that I thought I would take here, and you know, I use some of your guidance as well as some of the things that you've done, and I wanted to kind of make this more meaty versus going sweet or what I've done before. So I thought that an olive would be really fun. And Divina makes this really crazy olive. And this is a grilled green olive. How about that? Grilled. And it's got a little bit of spiciness to it. And that was the spiciness is what I was thinking about in this flavor in this olive. And I've had these olives before, but I've never really paired them up with a creamy cheese like this. Mmm. The cheese brings a tanginess to it. It takes out any of the spiciness that you have, and that green olive comes up with the butter and the cheese. Oh my, that's just by itself. I don't need to use I love the brewer's crackers because, you know, it's grain and it's spent grain and it's helping out, you know, use that. And this is the everything, which has got literally everything in it. But
I love an everything cracker.
That's always a lot of fun. So you know, this, you have to try to get a hold of these grilled olives, as they with the cheese are just
My shopping list is becoming quite large now, Michael.
You know, this is so creamy that it sticks to my cheese knife. Mm.
Silence is a good thing, I think.
How's that going down, Michael?
I can't imagine that wouldn't work wonderfully.
Yeah.
This is lunch. This is a magnificent lunch because you get your everything cracker, you get the olives and the cheese. Everything here is just a perfect balance to this. Yeah, this is a great lunch. I wouldn't change anything on here because you really
session cheese.
All the flavors the cheese makes this. I mean, olives are nice and the crackers are nice, but having the cheese with the creaminess, the flavor, the richness, the butteriness of this alone is just amazing. So I was thinking about the pairing here, and I'm going to stick with what I thought was because I think it would go really well. This is a brewery out of Asheville, North Carolina, and this is Highland Brewing, first one in Nashville, and this is their Gaelic Ale, and it is really malty. It's got a nice maltiness, but it's got a little bit of hops on there to cut the malt, and I think that putting all these four things together would be really spectacular. I am so looking forward to tonight because tonight I'm going to open this up with this pairing because this is well, it's not going to be lunch, it's going to be dinner. So I have like 3 dinners now.
Fantastic. Everyone over to Michael's with their face masks.
That is, every one of these cheeses has been exceptional and they've been unique and things that we just don't really taste a lot of times here in the United States as I guess, some of the terroir that you have that is established in these cheeses that cannot be reproduced. And there's a lot of cheddars out there, but there's nothing like any of your cheeses that I've ever had in all the years of being able to taste, judging and teaching and being able to try different cheeses. These are one-offs. They're all unique in exactly what they are. That's magnificent.
Oh, well, thank you, Michael. That's amazing to hear, and especially during times like this. But we do, they're all crafted with so much love and care and attention, and it's so wonderful that you can see and understand that. But we do have one last cheese to try, which is the oak smoked. Before we end and leave you to all of your cheese dinners, and this is obviously left until the end because it is a smoked cheese and it carries quite a lot of flavour and would probably stop you from being able to taste any of the others if you were to have had it first. This is our oak smoked Clothbound, aged between 9 and 12 months. When we're grading every batch every month, we pick out some of the more buttery cheddars to go on to be smoked. This is so that that butteriness and that smokiness kind of balance or work together as opposed to each other. If we pick something super horseradish forward or super grass forward, it wouldn't work quite so well with the smoke. So when you're trying this, it's really well worth trying the center and then up here, because what we do is we take our big 60-pound truckles and we cut them into 6-pound pieces, and we cold smoke those for 16 hours. The reason we cut it into that size piece is we know that by 16 hours, the exterior of the cheese will have got a really great smokiness, and it will have also penetrated to the middle, but it won't be making the outside smell taste like charcoal. It's a balancing act to make sure that the outside isn't over smoked before you get to the interior. We're not extruding our cheese, we're not reforming it, and we're not adding liquid smoke. This is a completely natural smoke, you know, so that's why we cut it into that piece and we smoke it like that. So you're going to get a different smoke down here as to what you are up here, and that's part of the joy of a handmade like naturally smoked product, and it pairs so amazingly with so many different things. Like I said, when we're grading, we pick a more buttery forward cheddar for this, and that is a flavor profile that you'll get throughout the whole thing. Smokiness, obviously you'll get a smoky flavor going throughout the whole thing. Onioniness comes in midway through, and then it's a little bit sharp and salty and umami towards the end, but that smoky butteriness just is a natural kind of progression the whole way through. It pairs amazingly with so many different things, but pale ales and Pinot Noir, fantastic. Adds a load of richness to so many different things, arugula, salads, all sorts. It stands up really well against meats and charcuteries as well, if you're that way kind. One of my favorite pairings, if you can find it, is cowboy candy or candied jalapenos. Something spicy and sweet also works beautifully with this cheese. It's a really fun pairing, and there's so many sweet and spicy combinations available in the market. Mike's Honey, I know that you can get across the States. I've tried like strawberry habanero jams with this. There's lots that you can play with on this cheese. It's full bodied and it's got a lot going for it, so it can stand up to a lot, and you can really play around when it comes to pairings. But this one is, I know so many people love this cheese. I don't think you can say a bad word. Mary, what's your thoughts?
Well, I'm always pleased with tasting our smoked cheese. Well, because what we're looking for with the smoke is that you get smoke at the front, then you get the smoke and the cheese together, you know, and as you say, we select those buttery flavors, but actually at the end your palate's not left, as you say, with charcoal on it, so you're left actually with cheese on your palate rather than smoke, and just feels like, you know, well, I'm pleased that we do this very delicate smoke, because although it's 16 hours, what we take advantage is we have just really almost infinitesimal amounts of smoke going in, or we smolder very gently these oak chips that my brother chips up and provides for us, and just so that it's not, as you say, not too tarry. It's something that we backed off those high smoke flavors because, well, I love cheese. That's what I want to taste. Michael, how about you? How's this going with you?
Well, you know, again, I've been patiently waiting to open up the package. Yesterday, I paired up a smoky blue from David Gremmels. You know David very well.
Yeah.
So
Very
one
good.
of the things that he uses local hazelnuts, the shells for that. So that's really, you know, cool to be able to have that. So on here, I wanted to, well, okay. So for most of my thoughts when it comes to smoked cheeses, when we do those, we run into the fact that they do taste like meat, like you get a little bit of charcuterie, or in the South, a little bit of barbecue going on. And one of the things that, you know, we get a lot of comments on is people that are vegetarians that get a chance to be able to taste a meatiness that you would get from the smoking of the cheese. And you can see that this is just a beautiful amount of just color on the backside on this. And the smell, oh man, does this ever have such a clean smokiness to it? I think that that's one of the really distinguishing factors when you talk about smoking, is that it's not coming up to be such an intense flavor, but just a really nice, you know, a lot of times people say campfire. This isn't campfire. This is real wood smoke. You know, this is not just a whiff. This is very real. Again, I get the cheddar first, then I get the smoking in here. This has a very, very distinct and intense smokiness to it. Very different than what you really get here, where again, we get that barbecue-ish flavor. Here,
I see lots of applewood in the States, lots of applewood smoked or hickory smoked, but I never see oak smoked.
right. So what I thought was to add a little bit of spiciness to this. And so I went with Virginia chutney. This is a spicy plum chutney. And I thought that, you know, thinking a little bit about the smokiness of a barbecue, having that smokiness like a sweet, spicy barbecue sauce. Oh yeah. It's like a spicy barbecue. Oh. So as messy as that is, I thought that my choice of accompaniment of this would be something a little more simple, not as kind of like flavorful, but to be able to bring a little bit of a breading to this, kind of like a cornbread. I thought about using the Effie's corn because I thought cornbread would be really good with the smokiness, like a barbecue. But I get the same out of the Three Little Pigs. This is their petite toast, and it is a toast that's petite. Yeah, like a cornbread with a barbecue, with a spicy barbecue sauce. Oh my. It's
delicious.
Yeah, again, we're, you know, I could shred this up, slather it on the toast, and you would think you would be eating a Southern barbecue sandwich. That's how rich and flavorful this is. This is amazing. I adore this cheese. This is for those that are looking for cheese that isn't about one or the other, that you get the cheddar, you get the smokiness, but the oak smoke is something that I've never really experienced before. Of you really taste the toasted oakness of this. So
it's a delicious combination.
So with barbecue, with the flavors and the intensity and the spiciness, I would want to have something that has a little bit of a hoppiness, but also some sweetness. So I picked the Dale's Pale Ale, and this is an American pale ale. Very, very classic, very, very easy, but it's a palate cleanser. So this is something that there's so much flavor here that you need something to wash off your palate to start off again, so you can just kind of build from that. And you know, their claim to fame is not only just being a really good pale ale, but they're the first American artisan or craft brewer that went to cans.
Oh.
But, this has been a magnificent journey today. I mean, exceptional. Everything that I've tasted is a new flavor, a new direction. It's just so, I guess, refreshing to have such authenticity and such terroir that comes across. And it really shows everything that you're doing, from, you know, the grass grazing, the breed of cows, the time to make the cheese, the aging, the bandage wrap, everything that goes along with the way that you do this plays an important aspect of each of these cheeses that shows that. You know, they're not just cheeses. They're your home. They're representing, you get a taste of England. You get a taste of the terroir. You get a taste of the milk. You get a taste of all those things. It's just amazing. It really is.
It's great to be able to translate that to you guys in the States, and to send you a little slice of Devon, you know, out to you, and for you to taste that. You know, it's great. You know, it's Mary's family and all the hard work and so much love that goes into it with being a handmade product. It's just fantastic to have that appreciation.
Well,
thank you so much, Michael. It's been a great journey to hear how you view those pairings with these cheeses that I know really well, and you know, we've worked with for a lifetime, and to hear you with your take on them is a real privilege. Thank you.
You're welcome. Welcome. So, anything that you'd like to say to everybody about, you know, kind of wrapping it up, talking about what you got, what you did, where you're going?
Well, thank you for listening. I love the way when I come to the States or I interact with people from the States, I learn so much, you know, from the American Cheese Society and the CCP, and Lee Smith it was, who really gave us an insight. Lee Smith, who runs editor of Deli Business and Cheese Connoisseur, and she gave us the insight and the words really to describe the flavors of our cheese that have allowed us really to build from there. So, you know, we gained so much by learning from you guys in the States, and let's hope for a long and fruitful relationship in terms of bringing our cheese over and you enjoying it, and Michael, you coming over and judging, and Lee too, coming over and judging and providing your wisdom to us old Europeans.
No, to reiterate what Mary said, thank you so much for allowing us to have a platform to talk about these amazing cheeses that we're so proud of and bursting with energy to talk to people about. We love that you guys love it. We love that you guys can take a slice of Devon in the US and help to understand and spread the word, especially at times like this when small scale cheesemakers we're all being hit incredibly hard, and you know, allowing us to chat and speak to people and help to educate, because that's what so much of it is about, helping people to understand why these things are special. Just is really gratefully received. It really is, and we really appreciate the fact that you've allowed us to have your platform for a little bit of time to try and help tell people about it. Like Mary says, every time I've come to the States and been fortunate enough to spend time traveling around, I've learned so much from everyone I've met, and you know, our American clientele are so unbelievably knowledgeable, and it's great to be able to speak this cheesy language and speak it over the internet for now. Hopefully it won't be long until me and Mary are back in the States and we're able to come and see you guys in person. But until then, you've got our details. If anyone wants to get in touch, we love hearing if you're trying our cheese, or if we can help you to find it, please just drop us a note, and we'll do our very best to help you find a slice of Devon in the States.
Thank you. That was, you know, for both of you to take the time today is just so wonderful, to be able to see you, to be able to talk, be able to taste the cheeses, of course. It's just exceptional. And I wish you two the best, and I can't wait to be able to come back. And I know that I have plans in July to head on over there. So hopefully everything will be settled down so I can come out and visit, spend a little bit of time together, you know, run up to the pub and enjoy a couple frosty beverages together and just kind of have a chance to reconnect. So I'm looking forward to that. And this will be available the next couple days on my YouTube channel, Michael Landis Cheese, and I'll have your contact information, your Twitter, your Instagram, and also your Facebook. I'll have them on there. So anybody that needs to get a hold of you, and really appreciate the time that you took today. I love you guys so much, and I really, really appreciate you taking the time.
Brilliant. Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks,
All right.
everyone.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
I want to thank you again for sticking with us, and I hope you enjoyed the conversations that we had today. Next week, we have a wide variety coming up. We have Widmer's coming up with their cheeses. I got Joey on, got Wag coming on, which will be really fun having Katie and Kate on, or Carrie and Kate, and it'll be really fun with them. And then on Friday, we're going with the Cowgirls, so that'll be pretty cool. And as a reminder for those of you that are listening in, Sunday night, Sunday will be the last day for you to be able to get your orders in for Cowgirl to be able to taste with us. So thanks a lot for sticking around. I really appreciate it. Again, my name's Michael Landis, and be careful out there. Wash your hands, wear a mask, and be very careful. We'll see you next week. All right, bye.